What's up, guys? Mini past life reads are this evening, and it just snuck up on me, but here we are. Here we are. Let's see if I can get it to where both YouTube and TikTok are going to work at the same time. I don't even have my cards out. Like, what kind of good reader am I to not even have my cards out? I mean, there's that. It is what it is. If you guys did not get on the list for tonight, no big deal. I will be doing them again. I know I have a few to make up. I only have 8 on my list for tonight, and that is all I'm going to do. Just so you guys know, okay? How are we? How are we? It's been an interesting few days for me. How has it been for you guys? How has it been for you guys? I'm sure someone's going to come in and ask me to do the things with the hands. Not tonight, not tonight. That is tomorrow. Laura Reed, you are first, honey. So here are the people that I have on my list for tonight in this order. Laura Reed, Scott McGill, Karen Wood, Suzanne Horn, Jeannie Sammer, Estella Zamora, Summer Thompson, and Miss Barbara Troughton. So that is all I have on my list tonight. These things wear me out, and I have already been, I am already worn out, because if you guys didn't know, we're in the middle of the expansion at the shop. I saw you down there. We're in the middle of the expansion at the shop, and yeah, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But that's all right. But that was all right. So before I get started and get in there too far, I do want you guys to know that I am in the middle of doing my schedule for the rest of the month and for November. Really, the rest of the month, my schedule is pretty damn tight with the opening and so on. But I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, okay? I may have ordered a ton of badass shit for the shop. So if you guys are looking for a cool gift, if you guys are looking for something special, if you guys are looking for, I don't know, just something weird you're not going to find anywhere else, we're going to be adding stuff to the site on a daily basis. Make sure you are a member of the site, thebluebodie.com, because next Monday I will be sending out a massive thing with our calendar for November and with all of the new goodies, plus coupons. I mean, who doesn't love coupons? I'm just saying what I'm saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. So, Miss Laura Reed, are you ready? So, these are mini past live reads. So, I'm going to start off with the disclaimer that all of these are for entertainment purposes only. And we will talk about that in a whole other video. But all of these, let me explain what a past life reading is, okay? And yes, these are going to be available over here on YouTube for those of you guys on TikTok, so you can watch them anytime. What a past life reading is, let's talk about a big, massive, normal past life reading. This is to go through 1, 2, 3, 10, however many of these people do when they do a full read of a past life that is coming through that is affecting you the most in your meat sack right now. Every single person has other past lives. If you believe in reincarnation, if you believe in anything at all with your soul coming back a few different times, I do. A lot of religions, a lot of spiritual practices, a lot of cultures believe in reincarnation, which is the idea that the soul comes back several times. So with a past life read, all of this comes back because it is something in each different life that you are trying to accomplish, that you are dealing with, that is popping up again for you now, karmic bonds, karmic relationships, etc. So in a mini past life read, with a full past life read, I give you a whole lot more. We spend about 45 minutes per read talking and so on. With a mini past life read, this is just going through what is affecting you the most in your life right now? What is causing a pause? What is stopping you? Okay? I also have a specific deck of cards, these right here, that are to tell me what it is that this life is affecting, like why that's affecting you. For example, why is this specific thing coming up? Because what is it you're trying to heal? Okay. So I don't give you the whole massive rundown like you would with a full past life read. This is a mini past life read. Okay. So we're going to get through this. We're going to do the things. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Miss Laura, are you ready? There she is right there. So you start off with Thanatos, which is completion. You also have today for tomorrow. You have Bride in a Cage. And then we're going to talk about this healing card down here. So this life here is actually one that I'm going to say it this way. You started it and then it got cut off. This is a very, very old one, like way the hell back there. I would say this may be like your first or second, to be honest. Like it's that old. Your soul is very masculine. Even though there's a lot of feminine cards right here, your soul is very masculine. It's very strong. It's very measured. It's very firm. So it's just how your soul is. So therefore, a lot of people think that you might be too cold, that you might be too logical, that you might be whatever it is, okay? You don't have really the soft, squishy, emotional soul that a lot of souls that are more feminine have. I hope I explained that right. You have a very strong masculine soul. This life that I'm talking about here got cut off unexpectedly. I mean, it happened exactly how it was supposed to happen, but it got cut off unexpectedly. This is why you have a fear of being trapped under something. This is why, and this is not just a normal fear, okay? This is not just because nobody wants to be trapped under something. This is something like if something were to fall on you and you couldn't move, if you are to think about that, especially if it's across this area, you have a panic attack. It goes straight into a panic attack. This is why you have dreams about getting pinned under things. This is why, I don't know, I keep seeing this image of this massive tree. Not that the tree fell on you. I don't know why I keep seeing it. It keeps popping up. So I'm like, all right, let me talk about the tree. This is like a big, humongous, really crazy tall tree with very bright, it's like a pine or something like that. It's got those kind of leaves. I can't remember what those type, pine, cedar, etc. I can't remember what those types of trees are called, but I don't think you really lived past probably about 23 here. There was something you were supposed to accomplish in this life. You got yanked to do something else, but the life itself was very calm, was very peaceful, was very pleasant. Like there was nothing hard about this. There was nothing hard about it. Okay. Does that make sense? Very masculine, but very calm. But whatever this thing is about being pinned under something, it's like, it makes me want to have to take a deep breath. Because this one ended like that, even though when our souls come back, our souls know. This is why you can look in a baby's eyes and you're like, oh, I know who you are. I see that old soul in there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You can look in a baby's face and it's like, they remember. And then as we get a little older, we start to forget all of that. But this right here is why you have such a problem living in the now, living for today. You are always looking forward because this life here, even though your soul knew it was going to get cut short, you felt like it wasn't, like you didn't have enough time. It wasn't fair. You didn't have enough time. So you're always looking forward, like you're always living for tomorrow. You have a problem being here in the now. Does that make sense? It's also why you kind of put yourself in situations You put yourself in really hard situations. Even though this life I'm talking about here wasn't a hard situation at all. It was a wonderful, calm, like just amazing, wonderful thing. But it's like you're trying to put yourself in these hard situations to make up for that. I don't know why. It's like you feel like you have to have that balance. But I would love to see your birth chart. See, with a full past life read, like I would dig into your birth chart. We would do all this stuff because I would bet, because this one is popping up now and it's affecting you the most right now, you're having a lot of continual breakthroughs, continual enlightenment, banging you in the head, continual like just leaps forward like this, to the point that you're having a massive problem right now relating to other people who are not walking any type of elevated spiritual path. Like you just don't have time to talk to anybody that you consider still kind of in the matrix. That's because I would bet that you're nearing the end of your soul's journey. You're learning all the things. And I say that because the healing card that you have over here is the awakening card. This is the Akashic Records card as well. So here's what I'm going to recommend. Okay, here's what I'm going to recommend. You need to get an Akashic Records reading. Like you really do. You need to find someone to do a full Akashic Records reading, not just someone on social media that's going to do it really quickly. Like you need someone that is not only attuned to the Akashic Records, but has been doing it for a long time. You don't, like, whatever this is that you're trying to figure out right now, it's like it's just beyond your grasp and you can't quite get it. So you need to find someone who's been reading the Akashic Records for a long time, several years, not just a few months. You need someone that can get the information that you need. Don't just get someone here, on social media that says they're going to do it like that. You need someone that knows what they're doing, because you need the answer to these questions about what it is that you have to finish, what this enlightenment, this constant evolution is that's going on right now, if that makes sense. Guys, let me say this. I am going to start, and it's now, okay. I want you to find the right person to book with that speaks to you in here. Whether it's me or someone else, I want you to go through and I want you to listen to the person reading. If you resonate with that person, absolutely book an appointment with them, okay? But don't hesitate to ask people questions. I don't care. If it's me, if it's someone else, they should be able to tell you exactly how long they've been reading, when was the first time they got in to see the Akashic Records. They should be able to tell you all of that, okay? Now, I said that to say this. My schedule technically is booked until January. However, I'm going to start opening it up in November. I have to get through this expansion first. I am under like a tremendous amount of shit to do right now. But once I get past this expansion, I am going to open up some appointments. So if you guys would like to be on a waiting list for an appointment in November, please send a message to the site, and we have a list. If you guys would like to be on the list for the Reiki Symposium, in November, we're going to start sending out the invitations for that. So if you guys want to be in that symposium, let us know. But Laura, you need to find somebody that can get into your Akashic Records, that can give you these answers. I don't even think you really know the questions, but you need to really think about what it is you need to know, but really just asking, like, what is this last piece of my enlightenment puzzle that I am supposed to find? You need to have somebody get into your Akashic Records and dig, because there's something in this life here that you didn't get to accomplish, and that's why it keeps coming up. It's why you feel like you constantly aren't there. Does that make sense? Like you're constantly not making it. Like you're running out of time, even though you're not. Okay, let me say that. Even though you're not running out of time. But I mean, overall, I can't really complain about this life. I can't say anything really bad. It was a great life. It was nice and calm, peaceful. But it did end young. Yeah. So let me know if I can help you in any way with this. But you need to find someone to pull your Akashic records. Okay? But yes, this is why you have this ungodly, irrational fear of being pinned under something. All right. Scott McGill will be next. I don't know why this one keeps sliding down. Well, I do, because it's kind of being a butt. All right. How are we? How are we today, guys? How was your day? How was your day? Hey, Scott, there are you. There are you? There you are. What is wrong with my words? I haven't had any sleep. That's what. I'm just kidding. I actually slept really good last night. Now, the night before, not so good. Last night, pretty damn good. I love you right back, honey. All right. We ready? We ready, Scottimus? Well, this life right here has been affecting you almost your entire meat sack life this time around. Because this one is the reason that it's not just being Captain Save-A-Ho. It is legit. You have this knack for seeing people that are broken, for seeing people that need help, for seeing people, like just seeing the ones that need it the most. It's like they just glow to you. You can look in a crowd of people and certain people just glow. And you know that that person, like they need this the most. So you kind of, in this life, in this meat sack now, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but this is why. In this meat sack now, you really go out of your way, and people don't understand why. You understand it, and you always end up doing what it is you need to do, but other people don't understand it. Let's talk about why. Now, what's funny is before I even talk about this past life, you're going to see, like, you've been this way your whole life. This right here. This is why, even as a kid, you gave everybody everything. So you start off with the Poet of Avalon, which is fame and stagnation and pride. Then you have Sacrifice. And then you have Alone in the World. And we're going to talk about this healing card last, okay? So this one right here, I'm going to put you being born probably in the late 1400s, like 1490, 1491, 1492. And in this one as well, you have a very masculine soul as well. Like, you're squishy when you need to be squishy in this meat sack, but you have this rigid hardcore in there. Like, it's like if titanium were bendable. I hope that makes sense. It's the only way I can explain what I'm seeing. But in this one, not only were you born to a pretty wealthy family, but you were born as the eldest son of the eldest son of the eldest son. So you were like super special, super like, I don't want to say doted on, but doted on in a way of, you know, you went to school, you were trained, you had, you know, someone who taught you how to do all of these things. And I'm probably going to put this one somewhere in Europe, probably Spain, France area, like that border area, right? You know what I'm saying? So more toward the east versus the west, where Spain and France. Okay, so border is here. Toward the east over here, just on the French side. I don't know why. Okay, so on a map, I don't know why I'm seeing this, but like, say here's the line. There's something weird before France, the corner of the border, but it goes like this on the map. I don't know what it is. It's almost like a horseshoe shape, but there is a town in that horseshoe right there. Anyway, you are really trained, doted on everything. And thank you, Sweet Pea. In this life here that we're talking about, you had a very long life here for the time and for being who you were. You had a very, very long life, but every little bit of it was controlled. You married who you were told to marry. You had kids with this person. Like, you did what you were supposed to do. Like, every bit of your life was controlled. So even though it was a great life, and even though you had everything that you needed, you weren't happy because everything was controlled. This is why now you feel like you still have times where you feel like you are utterly by yourself. Because then every bit of your life was controlled. And the people that were supposed to love you and care for you and nurture you and so on, you had nannies and you had, people that took care of you and trainers and, things like that. So you never really got the love that kids need. You never got that. Everything was hard. Planned. So you always felt alone. And you learn to be really distant. And so in this life, you're able to be who you're supposed to be. And you're able to be warm and loving and caring. But you still have these times where this affects you really deeply. And so you feel like even when you're sitting in a room of people that absolutely adore you and they love you and they're there to see you and hang out with you and visit, you still suddenly sometimes feel like you're just miles away. Like you are so alone and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, why do I feel like this? Like, I shouldn't feel like this. The other part of this is in being who you were in this time, you had to be certain things. You had to do certain things. And even though you wanted to help people and help these people and do this and this, you weren't allowed to. And by the time you were allowed to do the things, you had to be training your own kid to you never got to do what you wanted to do. So the life you're in currently right now, the meat sack you're in right now, you continually sacrifice for people that don't have as much as you have, for people that you feel like need it more than you, because it's almost like you're making up for this life here, where you weren't allowed to do those things. You had the power, you had the means, you had the money, you had the food, you had all the things, but you were not allowed to do it. And so now in this life, in this meat sack, you're like, okay, I can do it now, so I'm gonna. But you go too far with it. You go too far with it sometimes. But what's interesting about it is this is kind of like, when you're being taught to drive, I know what's going on, and they tell you to be careful, like if you drift off the road or whatever, you're not supposed to jerk the wheel and overcorrect. You just kind of like this. Well, you're like jerking the wheel and overcorrecting to get back on the road. And the thing is, like, I don't feel like I need to tell you not to do it, because I feel like you're overcorrecting because it was so far off the road. This is also, there's a karmic bond here that you have with another male in your life, where this person tried to make you do everything. They tried to run your life, run the show. They tried to be like You have to do these things like this. But you bucked them the whole time you knew this person. You bucked every bit of it. The reason that it's coming up so hardcore right now, and the reason that you're feeling this, like, I'll bet you haven't even told anybody this, but you're feeling this need to, like, do something bigger, either for a group of people, one specific person, whatever it is. Like, you have this, like, ball in there that you feel like you need to do something bigger. You just don't know what it is yet. It's just sitting there. And I think that you're thinking about it randomly, just trying to wrap your head around, okay, what bigger thing can I do to help more people? Because of this. This is the Merkaba. This is healing on all levels. When this pops up, this is something karmic that you're taking care of right now. So like I said, I don't feel like I need to tell you to not continue to jerk the wheel over because it was so far off the road. The only way to get back on the road is to jerk the wheel. But with the Merkaba itself, this is bringing your soul back into balance. Now, I am going to say this. Obviously, don't sacrifice so much that it's going to cause problems, because it has caused problems in the past. But life has treated you very well, and the universe has handed you things so you could be in this position. Like, your soul chose this meat sack, this life right now, so you could help the people you've helped, and so you could have everything brought to you the way it needed to be brought to you, so you could help these people. Does that make sense? When we come around the bend to get in line for our next life, like, we pick and plan everything. Doesn't mean we don't have free will. Doesn't mean that we're going to accomplish everything we set out to accomplish. But you are in this life. The meat sack you're in right now, you are accomplishing everything you need to accomplish. So one thing I'm going to recommend here is there are a ton of great Merkaba healing meditations, and a lot of it's just music on YouTube. I would highly recommend listening to a couple of them. They don't have to be the whole time you're asleep. They don't have to be all day. You don't have to meditate, whatever. Even if it's just a couple minutes, or maybe while you're in the shower or something like that, just a little bit. It doesn't even need to be a lot, and kind of work your way up a little bit. If you don't have a Merkaba shaped stone, I recommend getting one. Bitsy, if you'll remind me, I'll look and see. I did have a few. Will you send me a message and remind me to look? Because I did have a few, and if I do, I'll let you know. But I would highly recommend getting one. Plus, they're fun to play with. They're fun to play with. But yeah, don't stop jerking the wheel over, and don't. If you feel in here that you need to help this person or that person or whatever, I mean, obviously within reason, don't sacrifice too much, but do it. I'm not going to tell you to slow down. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, because you're fulfilling a karmic bond that you've had for centuries. And this is your way of getting right back on the road. Okay? It's why you are the way you are. It's why you are the way you are. So, that makes sense? Aw. Well, don't tell Bitsy I made you cry. Like, don't tell her I made your eyeballs leak a little bit. She might come find me or something. And then I might not send her back. You're welcome, love. I mean, it's also why some people have tried to take advantage of you, but But it's why you are the way that you are. So yeah. Apparently your soul does not like being told what to do. All right, Miss Karen Wood, you are next, sweet pea. Man, I was coming home from the shop and I told my kid, I was like, it absolutely feels like fall. Feels like fall. Like it was 7:30, it's dark outside, like the wind's blowing out there. Got to pull out my sweaters, my tea. Like I'm just fucking excited. All right. Hey, the Blue Bodie joined my live. What? I love it when the Blue Bodie joins my live. I carry these in my shop, by the way. I have a whole bunch of different ones. I have one that says Stirring Up Trouble. I have one that has a Chihuahua on it that says Hellhound. I know, right? Like I'm super lucky to have the actual Blue Bodie in my live. Holy shit. I can't help it. I can't help it. All right, Miss Karen, are you ready? Every now and then we get a celebrity in the room. Oh, shit. All right. It is funny. I just happened to look up at the right time to see that. I love it. I fucking love it. All right, Karen. Man, 3 is a big number in your life. Okay. So you have Abaddon, which is pestilence and malice. And then you have I Won't Cry for You. And then you have obsession. And like I said, we're gonna talk about it, talk about that other card over there. So you have an interesting soul that kind of rides the middle of the road between masculine and feminine. It leans more toward the feminine, but it's a very strong feminine. It's a very intense feminine. It's not one of those like super squishy. It's just not super squishy. It's just not. But this one right here, I'm actually going to put this one probably having you born in the late 1820s, 1829. Sometimes I can pull a little bit. I've been able to pull in the past where some people could get to find themselves or whatever. I thought at first this was going to be in like the Carolinas, but I think it's actually Caroline that I'm hearing, not Carolina. It is here in the US, but Caroline, not Carolina. So let me say this, okay? You were kind of the spoiled child in this life. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. You were kind of the spoiled child here. This is one of those where you started off with a lot. You had everything handed to you on a silver platter. Like I said, you were kind of the spoiled child here, but there's some flip about the time you are 19, 20 years old, where suddenly it goes from having everything to nothing, like running. I don't know. And I wish I could see where you are in the US. It's The only things that I see are a very square, tall white house with, there's 4 pillars out front, but very, very tall, square white house. But I only see the house. Like, I don't see how old you are. I just see the house. I don't know. It's really weird. And it's at night that I see the house as well. And then the reason that I say that you had everything and then suddenly you didn't, it's because I see the house. It's like nighttime, dark around it, and then all of a sudden dark. Like the house is just not there anymore. So I don't know what that means. It doesn't, like, nothing happens to you, but suddenly the house is gone. And then there's this movement, and it's a southern type of movement. So there are also 2 kids with you when you're traveling south. There are 2 littles with you. I don't think they're twins. I think they're Irish twins because they're like they're both really young. But it's just you and them. Like, it's just the 3 of you. It's very interesting. But because of that, because of the way you grew up in this life, because of that kind of, spoiled, I'm the queen. And then this shift, it's like you become someone else. I don't know if you are going into hiding. I don't know what it is, but you literally become someone else. I'm going to say you're probably in Pennsylvania somewhere, because this is going from somewhere that's kind of cooler, like, down. But when you shift in this life, when you travel in this life, you don't use the same name. You don't use the same name. Like, you literally become a different person. But when you become this other person, like, you are a hard ass. You are a hard ass. You go from being like, kind of the spoiled girl to like a super, super hard ass. This life right here is why you like the finer things, but at the same time, you know damn well that if you were left alone out in the woods, you would build yourself a house. Like, you would be just fine being the little old woman in the woods. You don't want to be that, but you're just fine with it if that were to happen. In fact, part of you is like, that sounds great. I really think there's something happened that made you go into hiding here. So I have a feeling that you also have this weird bit of paranoia where you always are kind of looking over your shoulder in this life right now because of this. I'm trying to get more. It's just weird. After I see the house, everything is black. And then I feel, the movement with it. There's no, it's just like a panic movement. Just go. There's no, like, I'm trying to get why. I don't understand why. I wish I had more time to dig into this. I'm holding my breath too, but it's like, I feel like I need to be like this, like watching around me. So I would bet that you do it without realizing. Well, I actually bet you realize you do it. I would bet you're like, why are you doing that, dumbass? To kind of have the talk with yourself. Okay, but I digress. Like I said, you literally change. You literally change personalities. You change who you are, everything here. I also don't think, because whenever you have these 2 children with you, and then as you're leaving, as you're moving, and I see you in this other place, it's just you. So I don't know what that means either. I don't feel a loss, like grief, like you lose the child. I don't feel that. So I don't know if you are just helping them get somewhere, or if I don't know. I don't feel grief. I don't feel loss in that aspect. It's just when I see you, you're by yourself. It's just you. But you are at the end of this life, and you live a decent long life. You are that old woman in the woods with a shotgun that will absolutely not allow anyone on her property. Like, you are the one that they are scared of in the woods. It's interesting. It's just like the first part of your life is very social, is very open, is very, you know, boisterous. And this last part is just alone and private. And like, I don't see a husband. I don't see anything after the house goes dark. Like, just, it's just you. So you have this intense need to do things yourself. You have this intense need. It's like you refuse to ask people for help. You are determined you are going to do shit by yourself, to the point that everybody's like, dude, just, I can help you. Like, it takes 5 people to lift this box. You can't do it. And you're like, watch me do it. It's more than just normal, you know, raw, let me do it. This goes beyond that. Like, it goes beyond that. Okay, so with this one here, the other interesting thing is, I don't know what it is back here on the, let's see, right lower side. I don't know if it's kidneys or if it's your back up here, but there is something with this. It's almost like walking like this all the time. And I have a feeling that it's popped up in this meat sack now. It bothers you. It's right in here. It's like some weird shit. You can't figure out what's going on. Yeah, it's like right at the end of your ribs. Right at the end of your ribs. I don't know what it is. But I keep wanting to do this. I keep wanting to hunch over like that. It's weird. Okay. Yeah, I could dig into this one. So anyway, the reason that this one is popping up, the reason that you're having all of these issues with, you know, just let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. And the reason that you catch yourself being too hard sometimes is because you're trying to find balance. This life here was extreme one way or the other. It was not like the one I just read, where his was, he's trying to pull himself back on the road. This life here that we talked about, this was extreme good and extreme alone. Extreme, you know, wealth to extreme poor. Does that make sense? It's extremes. So in this life right now, in your meat sack right now, you strive to have balance in everything. Like, if you can't have something balanced, it's like, if I can't have it balanced, I don't want it at all. If you can't have, like, it drives you insane when something is not balanced. Even if you have nothing to do with it. I would bet you have OCD like nobody's business. I would bet that you have to have everything just exactly perfect. And it's not a control aspect at all. It's like it physically hurts. You have to have it balanced. Everything has to be balanced. And it is what it is. It just is what it is. This balance is key to helping you ease some of this shit here. So I'm going to say, just keep striving for that balance. I will say this, and this is going to sound funny, but one thing that will help you with this balance is this. You know, the little, they're a set of 2 little round balls like this. I've got a set in there on my coffee table. You take them in your hand and you do this, and they make music as you do that. It helps to hit all the chakra points in your hands, but it also helps to calm you down and bring balance to your life. You can find them for like $10. There's several places at the mall that sell them. Like, you can find them on Amazon or whatever. Get you a set of those. Get you a set of those. Because when I had a set recommended to me a long time ago, and then I lost them, and then I just got another set. When the person that recommended them to me for balance, to help me balance and ground a little bit. So those times when you feel like you're out of control in a way, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you can't balance this or balance that or whatever. They will help you tremendously, tremendously. I don't remember what they're called. Somebody help me. Like, I don't remember what they're called, but they're about this big around. You put them in your hand and you move your hand, and people that are really good with them can twirl them around in their hand. They usually have bells or something musical in them. They're usually like green with flowers or red with the yin and yang on them. Sometimes they're black and white. I would love to find a blue pair, but that's what I'm going to recommend, Karen. Benoit, thank you, thank you, thank you. Benoit. I know that sounds weird to recommend that, but it will help. They will help. They help me tremendously. They really do. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. How are you, sweet pea? Good night, Miss Joy. It was good to see you, honey. I did barely catch before it went off the screen that you currently have Irish twins. I think that's funny. I saw that one too. Actually, that one goes before that one. Okay. Miss Suzanne Horn, you are next, sugar. So I have Suzanne, Jeannie, Estella, Summer, and Miss Barbara. You know, one of the things that I love about watching the comments, both, I'm going to yawn again, both on TikTok and on YouTube, is that I love how much all of you guys support each other. I love it. I love when we get new people in here. Everybody is so supportive. One of the things that it irritates me, but I know it's just the way people are, is when I go into lives, when I'm doom scrolling, you know, and you go into a live and people in there are so just dicks. They're just dicks. You know what I mean? Like, you go in there and maybe the creator is trying to do something nice, or the creator is answering questions, or the creator is performing. Because what you guys don't realize is, like, whenever a creator is live, whenever a creator is making videos, no matter how big or small that creator is, that's a performance. That is something they are doing for you, for entertainment. And so I always hate it when I see, like, I'm not a fan of the AI thing going on. I'm not a fan of the people that do that. But however, I come across some of them and I'm like, that's pretty damn creative. Like, that's a pretty great costume and so on. And I see people being dicks, and I'm like, why? Like, if you don't agree with that, you don't have to stay in there. You literally can go boop exactly how you got in there. You can go boop. Just like when I have people come in and they're, you know, hateful to me because I don't believe in the way that they believe. I don't go into their live and do that. If I come across a live and I'm like, yeah, I don't really believe this, I don't sit there and go, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Because, you know, I don't care. I don't have time for it. Boop. That's all you got to do. So I love that everybody here on TikTok, YouTube, etc. I love that you guys are so welcoming of each other and you're so supportive, and it just makes me happy. It just makes me happy. So, like, when Miss Joy was leaving just now, I love that everybody was telling her goodnight and everything. It just, I don't know, it just makes me happy. All right, Miss Suzanne, I'll shut up now. Suzanne's like, girl, you got all my shit out. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. I read for Suzanne for a while. She wouldn't be that way. Well, Suzanne, I will tell you that this one right here is what is driving you to continue to go higher and higher and higher with your spiritual self. All right. So you also start off with the Poet of Avalon, which is fame and pride and stagnation. Then you have envious gluttony. And then you have sacrifice. I need to get some Bodhi Nation t-shirts done, don't I? So The one thing about this, Suzanne, and we'll talk about this healing card here in a minute. The one thing about this is you have more of a feminine soul, and it's more of like middle of the road. So say like, here's the absolute middle, and this is super, super squishy feminine soul. Okay. Yours is about here. You're not super squishy, but you're not in the middle masculine. You're just here. You're middle of the road feminine. Does that make sense? You're perfectly squishy and perfectly strong. Like you are a perfect mix. Your soul is a perfect mix. However, when you're born, every single person, every single soul has to experience feminine and masculine lives. It just is. You have to experience all the things. So what's funny is it's almost like your soul kind of throws a fit when you have to experience a masculine life. This one right here was a masculine life. I'm going to say that this one right here is back around the mid 1630s, like 1632, 1633 is when I would put like birth date wise. But June, apparently. Okay. What's interesting about this one is you were a performer. You were absolutely a performer. You were born to a family of performers. I keep seeing like this. So like poets, spoken word, etc. Like you were born to a family that traveled, that had some kind of performance that they did all over Europe. Just perform. But you were really different in that you grew up learning all of this stuff. You grew up traveling. You grew up with parents that taught you all of these things. But at the same time, you didn't want to be exactly like them. So you came up with your own form of performing. Very flamboyant, very colorful, lots of costumes. You dressed up as a woman a lot. And it's like you had this character that like mocked women, mocking men. I don't know. It was very well received, even though your father did not like it at all. I also get the feeling you lost your mother at a pretty young age. Like I'm going to say 17, 18 years old here. You lost your mother, and that had a very, very intense, it had a very intense, I'm going to say trigger for you the rest of your life. You never married in this life, never had kids. This is literally one of those fame and performer lives where you don't live very long because you don't treat your body well in this life. But it's just kind of passing away in your sleep. There wasn't anything bad, you know? So it was definitely a very interesting life. But you were very, very envious of people that settled down in one place, that had a home, that had a family, that had roots, that just settled down. You were super envious of that. But thinking about actually going after something like that, you would never do that. You would never do that. Okay? You feel like in this, okay? You felt like the sacrifice that you made by not settling down, by not having a family, by not having a home was justified in that your life was to make other people happy. The thing that you did accomplish in this life was seeing a lot of places that your soul needed to see. Every soul needs to see specific things, if that makes sense. They need to see specific things. Yours saw what it needed to see. Yours saw exactly what it needed to see. And then some. You experience a lot of places and things, and you definitely were more traveled than the vast majority of the performers in that time. And people loved the characters that you did. They loved the characters that you did. In fact, I would bet that if you went back and looked at some of the, I would bet you could find this person. I would bet you could find this person. Because the character that they did, that where it was a very tall, slim man that dressed as a woman, loved to do the white face makeup with the big lips. It was very, very risque. It was very out of the norm. But you performed for some very, very interesting people in this life. But let me say this. Because of the places that you got to visit and because of the things you got to experience in this life here, you search in the meat sack you're in now for a lot of enlightenment. You search for a lot of higher level understanding, intensity, etc. You really are striving to understand yourself, other people, etc. And you've always felt this. Ever since you were a kid, you have felt this need to understand things. I would bet you absolutely love history, and you could sit and read history, watch documentaries about historical events, places, etc. I would bet you know a lot of weird random ass facts about different historical things from that other people are like, what? That's not a thing. And then they go look it up and oh my God, it's a thing. So yeah, this is why you have all of those things, Suzanne. Don't stop. Don't stop studying history. Don't stop trying to find more and more interesting things on your path. Don't stop trying to level up, because it's something that your soul is still trying to accomplish from this life. Even though you traveled and you did the things in this life, you didn't have access to the information like you have now. I don't know why my bangs look like they're puffed out right there, but it's driving me up the wall. There we go. Stupid bangs. So I'm going to recommend that you spend a little bit of time every week literally watching some of the documentaries that are coming out. There are some amazing, amazing documentaries coming out about all kinds of stuff. Thank you for that, sugar. All right. Miss. Is it Jeanine? G-E-A-N-I-N-E. Jeanine. Jeannie. I'm just going to call you. There you are, love. Is it Jeanine? And I was saying it wrong earlier. Jeanine. Gotcha, 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 gotcha. I'm glad you were here to correct me so I didn't say your name wrong the entire time. I would have felt horrible. Thank you guys for all the likes, all the goodies, all the thingies over there. And if you guys on TikTok don't follow me on YouTube, please do. Please do. Thank you, Miss Allison. I appreciate that. Interesting. So the first thing I noticed is this card here is 14 and this card here is 41. You kind of do things backwards, don't you? Well, you have a ton of inner child work that you're doing and a ton more that you need to step into doing. And this is why let's just talk. So you start off with the Prince, which is the forgotten adversary. This is sorrow and lost valor and serendipity. Then you have blinded to pain. And then you have hiding your true self. So, this life right here, you have one of those souls that's almost middle of the road. You spend as much time in a male life as you do in a female life. Like you literally are very balanced with it. And this life right here, I'm going to say this one is literally right around the turn of the century in the 1700s. Like right around 1700. I'm just going to say this. This was one where you probably, I'm going to say 8 or 9. It was just short. It was just short. It was short. It was hard. It was short. It was hard. It was cold. Nothing like this is a sickness. Okay. This is a sickness, whether it was plague, whether it was something like that. It's sickness. Like it hits and it doesn't take very long. Okay. Let me just say it that way. But from the time you were little, like you were not born to a family that had a lot. You were born to a very poor family. It was from the time you could walk, move, do stuff, like you were taught to do shit and work. It was very hard, very hard. Everything about this young life was very hard. So it affects you now, and that every time you get sick in the meat sack you're in now, it's like in your brain, you have this panic, this instant overreaction. And it's not, and I'm sure that you have been made fun of throughout your life because it's been a thing throughout your life. I'm sure that you have been made fun of for jumping to like, oh God, it's this, or oh God, it's that. Your brain automatically jumps to something really bad because of this, because in this life here, you weren't ever really sick until this happened, and then bam. So it's like that's kind of imprinted. And I would bet that you really don't get sick a crazy amount. But when you do, it's like, or even if you start coughing, or, maybe there's smoke, somewhere around and you start coughing, and then you're like, oh God, what if it's this? What if it's that? And then you kind of like talk to yourself like, what the fuck did that come from? Like, why would I think that? It's not just you reading too much on the internet or whatever. You just have this crazy, thank you for the monkey, Alicia. It's like you just have this crazy sudden panic about getting sick. I have a feeling too that when people around you get sick, like you kind of do the same thing. In your head, you're like, oh God, what if it's this? What if it's that? Like you really kind of panic, and you have to reel your own self back in. Because of this life, because it was so short, you have a ton of inner child work that has to be done. Remember when I said like 14 and 41 and you do things backwards? This is literally the inner child card. I have a feeling that you hide this inner child aspect of you because of this hiding your true self. You hide this inner child aspect of you. I bet you are probably one of the most goofy people I ever would meet in my life, but you hide that because you are so afraid of what people would think or say as an adult if you were to act like that. I'm going to say this. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Go do the things that make your inner child happy. Go do the things that make your inner child happy. go do the things that would make this inner child happy. If it's just going out digging in the dirt, because you never got the chance here to do anything childlike, ever. So go do the child things. Go do the fun things. I wish I could recommend a good book on inner child work, but I have yet to really come across many. I will say this. Start by doing the things that you didn't get to do as a child in this life, in your meat sack life now. The things you didn't get to do. Start by doing that. That's going to help tremendously. The other thing is this. Know that the sick aspect, that instant panic, the sick aspect, know that that comes from this life here. So when it happens, kind of take a deep breath and connect back. You see what I'm saying? Thank you, sweetheart. Take a deep breath and say, okay, this isn't here. This is from this. It'll be okay. But I'm going to prescribe Play-Doh and scissors and finger painting and digging in the dirt and throwing water balloons. Like I'm literally, that's what I'm going to recommend, is just doing awesome, fun kid shit. Seriously. And don't stress about what people are going to think or say or whatever, because that's a them problem. That's a them problem. The inner child work that you need to start working through from this meat sack and others has nothing to do with all the people with the sticks up their ass. You go and do this and be healed and work on and be healed. I sound like a televangelist. You go and you do the things that you need to do for your soul. And literally, I would trust, yeah, color your hair pink. Yeah. Yeah. The answer is yes. Go do the things you need to do. And if, like I said, it's a them problem. It's a them problem. People that are on a spiritual path and that are working on themselves, on their self-awareness, and that are becoming a better version of themselves, you're always going to piss somebody off. You're always going to piss somebody off. But who cares? Let them be pissed off. You know what I mean? Let them be pissed off. Tell them your spiritual advisor said that you could dye your hair pink and carry Play-Doh with you all the time. I'm just saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. This one affects you really deeply. I'm not going to lie. Like this life here, we all have that life that's really short. Yeah. We all have that that life that's really short. And it affects every single one of us. It affects every single one of us. So this one affects you on a deep level, and know that a lot of that inner child work is going to help. It is going to help. I don't think you're ever going to get over that sickness panic that happens. And when people make fun of you for it or whatever, just flip them the bird and go on about your life. I'm just saying, just go on about your life, because, you know, it is what it is, sweetie. It is what it is. Tell them your spiritual advisor said that they can fuck off. I'm just saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. Thank you, roses are blood. Uh-huh. I mean, but think about it, though. It's almost like shell shock for your soul. Does that make sense? It's almost like PTSD for your soul. because that was an intense thing to deal with as a child, you know. It's going to stick with you. We all, our soul, every single soul has something like that that sticks with you, that, you know. Yeah. I would bet that I could ask what everybody's irrational fear is. Every one of you has one. Every one of you has one. I am not going to lie. I have this stupid, irrational fear of sharks. I mean, it's not just a, oh my God, that's a lot of teeth. It is an irrational, I'm going to panic, shit myself, run the other way, and probably faint at the same time kind of fear. Like, I don't know. It's dumb. I don't know. There's no reason. I have never seen a shark except for at the aquarium. I'm fascinated by them, but I have an irrational fear. So yeah, I would bet every single one of you, if I asked what your irrational fear was, you would be like, bam, bam. Suffocation, that's a scary one too. See, it's funny. I'm not afraid of fire. I am afraid of drowning because I like to breathe, but it's not this level of irrational. It's not the shark level of irrational. Yeah. Maybe I need to do a video about it. I want to know. I want to know everybody's things. All right, Estella. Ready? Ready? Bridges. That's an interesting one. Oh, Estella. Ready. Here we go. Estella, you start off with the ageless, which is healing and grace and acceptance. And I want you to notice the staff here for a reason. Okay? Because then you have calling the storm, and I want you to notice that staff. I'm just saying what I'm saying. Then you have triumph of lies. So, Miss Estella, honey, your soul is old as fuck. We'll just start there. You're old as fuck. So I see people asking how to get a future read. Currently, my schedule is not up. I am working on it. I'm going through a major expansion at my shop, and so I haven't had time to do as much on my schedule as I would like to. But over the next couple of weeks, I will have my schedule back up. There are a few reads for this week and such, if you guys would like to get a reading. I am going to start doing more mini past life reads because I absolutely love to do them. So yeah. Miss Estella, your soul is really old. You are absolutely that soul that you have already learned all the things. You came back for your associate's degree and your bachelor's and your master's, and you're working on a doctorate. Like, that's how old your soul is. This life right here is way back there. I'm going to say like 200 BCE, like that far back. You were absolutely that person that you still are. You need the truth. You always strive to find the truth in everything. You look at everything. You try to look at everything very logically. You have to get all the information. So one of the main things about this life right here, you also have a pretty masculine soul. You lean more toward the masculine side. You've had more lives where you were more masculine than you have had feminine lives. So a lot of times in the meat sack you're in right now, you sometimes have a hard time identifying with other females. I would bet you have way more friends that are dudes. You get along better with guys. You feel more comfortable with guys, and you feel like one of the guys a lot of the time. You just don't make friends with women very easily in this life. I would bet you don't in most of your lives where you're a female. But in this one in particular, you have a very philosophical aspect to this life here. I can't see a lot of your childhood in this life. It's very interesting. I mainly see you as an old man. With the child aspect, there's a lot to do with ships, with boats. There's also a lot to do with very bright blue water, not turquoise, but just bright blue. I would put this probably somewhere in what's now modern day Turkey. But I only see like there's a lot to do with the sea here. I don't feel like this is being a sailor. I feel like this is you lived by the ocean, by the sea. There's a lot of fish, there's a lot of fishing, there's a lot of boats, but it's just like little rowboats, you know what I mean? Like not big boats. There's also a lot, I keep seeing like sitting up on a bluff or a cliff and looking out over the water. That's what I keep seeing. But I keep also seeing you as an older man here, as like that philosophical teacher type of person. I would bet that you absolutely love some of the older philosophical history, information, etc. You also were not that older philosophical man that was very calm about things. You did get worked up. Someone could get you worked up pretty easily about stuff by questioning. I'm not going to say questioning you, but it's like by questioning something that was known to be the truth. Like you would get upset about it, and then it's like you would go home and be like, well, actually, blah, blah, blah. Like it was really funny. And I think that people would upset you sometimes on purpose to hear what you had to say later. Like it's really funny. But if they upset you, it's like your brain started to work better. It's really funny. You have a lot of pupils that come through to learn from you in this life. A lot. And what's funny is you don't want to teach any of them. It's like you want them to leave you the fuck alone, but they just keep coming back. It's really funny. Toward the end of your life, I'm going to say the last 5, 6, 7 years of your life, in this one here, you're actually called to several of the royal places a lot to talk with leaders about life and philosophy and things like that. Like you're highly sought after. And what's funny is I feel like I said, I can't see a lot of your childhood. I mainly see you as an old man. I don't see the middle part of your life. Like there's no spouse, there's no children. It's just a lot, but it's just weird that I can't see the middle of your life. It's just black. It's another time when I wish we had plenty of time for me to dig into this, because there is a lot of anger here. I also feel like there's a lot of loss. But one of the main things with this life here, I mean, you definitely have a philosopher's passing, and that this is just, you know, somebody finding you up on a hill. You know, it's kind of funny, coming across you on accident. There's nothing bad about the passing. It is funny. It's this same type of cliff that I see. It's almost like sitting there is looking up under the tree, you know, looking up at the leaves and the sunshine and the blue sky behind it, and then just kind of panning down to the water, and then that's kind of it. Like it's awesome. It's perfect. But the healing card here is interesting because this life right here, there was something in that middle section that was very hard that your soul is still dealing with. So this right here is the inevitable change. This is continually changing and moving and shifting. I knew it was coming. That's why I paused. With this inevitable change, you have that same need in this life. I have a feeling that the middle part of this life that I can't see here was just continual things happening. Change, 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 change. You feel the need to do that in your meat sack now, in your life now. And you don't know why. It's because of this. You feel the need to change, to shift. And sometimes you change just for the sake of change. And then you're like, why did I do that? Like, that was dumb. Because you feel like you have to. I don't know. You just feel like you have to. I am going to say this, okay? I'm not going to tell you to not make the changes. I'm not going to tell you to not change when things come your way. What I am going to say, however, is just to make sure that you give it a little bit of thought before you make these massive changes, okay? Give it just a little bit of thought before you make these massive changes. The other thing I'm going to say is this. Notice the chakras around here. Notice the Merkaba in the back. Make sure that you are aligned with yourself. With yourself. That will help you to make the right decisions. It will help you to make the right changes. It will help you to be in tune with this part of yourself. And if you haven't read a lot of old philosophy in a while, I would go back and read some. Even if you just read a little bit here and there, I would highly recommend going and reading some. Because chances are you helped to write it. Your soul helped to write it. Don't stop the changes, okay? Just make sure that you're aligned with you. Okay? Miss Summer Thompson, you're next. I have Summer and then Miss Barbara. You know, I actually have, when I first started doing full past life reads a long time ago, I used to read the cards for people and then I would write them a written report. Usually it was three different lives. I would write them a report. I need to put those in a book sometime because some of them were crazy interesting. Okay, then. This one was first. Woo! There's the Summer. Sometimes I forget how big these cards are. Like, I have to actually squish the deck. Like, it kind of kills my hand to do these. I love them. They're beautiful cards. I don't understand why they are holographic blue on the side when the cards are black and orange, but that's okay. I still like them. All right. Can't make this shit up. Can't make this shit up. One of the reasons why I like doing these reads like this and I like shuffling as I'm doing them so you guys can see me shuffle is that, you know, I'm not just pulling the same cards out for people. I love it. All right, Summer, you start off with Thanatos, which is completion and support and expediency. Then you have the artificial heart, and then you have revenge. So, you also have a very I don't feel like it's a completely masculine soul. I feel like you're kind of right in the middle. You're balanced with it. And that you get along good with males. You get along good with females. You can be squishy when you need to be. You can be really hard when you need to be. Like you're kind of a chameleon. Your soul is kind of a chameleon. Now, I will say with this life, what's really interesting about this, I'm going to put this one in like the 1430s. What's interesting about this one is it's spotty. It's spotty as if like the memories, you know, when you see the thing of the film in the movies and at the end, like when the film burns and all those little holes come through, like that's how it is. Like I can see little bits here and there, but it's really, really spotty. So I don't know if you had like, so you were born a woman in this life. Okay. I don't know what it is with your head, with your brain. But there isn't a lot of memory here. There isn't a lot of, and this starts as a child because I'm even trying to pull a little bit and see what I can get. But it's like I can see this and this and this, and they're all like little bubbles of confined memory. They don't roll like the story rolls. It's so weird. It bounces back and forth. Like I have a feeling that you either had a head injury as a child here, or there is something, you were really sick. Like something happened to you as a child, 6, 7 years old in this life that caused this weird brain issue. To the point that you were taken to live with some nuns, like to be raised by nuns about 12 years old. And like, that's literally what you did with the rest of that life. You just stayed there. You did have a really intense issue with swinging really wildly from absolutely no emotion to intense anger. There was really no happiness. It was literally all just no emotion or intense anger. I have a feeling that this is from a fever, that this is like we would call it now a brain injury from a fever. Whether you got, I have a feeling you got it as a child and somehow, you know, someone was able to give you something to bring the fever down and stuff like that. But you can't have, you know, your brain swell and get overheated and stuff without it causing some damage. So you have a lot of things that you're healing from this life here. And one of those things is an abandonment issue. Because in being taken, you know, and what's funny is like, I can't even see that part. It's just, you weren't there and then you were there. So it's almost like you just blocked that out in this life, but there's a severe abandonment issue here. There's also this detachment issue. And I have a feeling that those two things have followed you into this life now. And so every time that abandonment issue pops up, you overthink things, even though you're like, damn, where'd that come from? Like, I really never had that problem. Like, what the fuck? And then you also have this detachment issue, which has actually served you kind of well, because in being able to detach like you did here, like detach from your emotions, you've had a lot of things in this life, in this meat sack now, that detachment has helped you with, because you're able to detach from those emotions and look at everything logically. It's just you don't like to put the emotions back in, because then it means all the blubbery, crying, panicky, whatever. What's interesting about this too is with whatever this was going on with the brain issue, too ironic for your life now. Whatever this is with the brain issue in this old meat sack in this life we're talking about here. The nuns that raised you and the ones that came after you and you died of old age here. All of the ones that were around you your whole life here would go to you because you saw things. They called it, that God was showing you these things or whatever. You saw things. You saw things. You dreamt things and you saw things. And a lot of times you couldn't even explain to people how you knew what you knew. You just saw things. I have a feeling that was intense as a kid for you in this meat sack now. And you shut it off. And now you're trying to open it back up again. So I am going to give you this one word of caution. Be really careful. Be really careful. Are you kidding me? So for those of you guys on TikTok, I'm totally reading that out loud. So for those of you guys on TikTok, Summer is on YouTube and she said, I fell off a balcony when I was about 2 and my grandparents adopted me when I was 12. That is really ironic. I mean, just saying. Anyway, just be careful that you don't open this gift up too fast because it will overwhelm you. That's why you shut it off when you were younger. It will overwhelm you. Okay? But I have a feeling you block out a lot of your dreams. So they're either uber intense dreams or they're not at all. One or the other. There's no in between. So what I find interesting is you also have the inevitable change card. Yours is a little different though. With the one I just read, hers was because she was always changing and shifting. With yours, it is heading your way. Does that make sense? It's heading your way. I would make sure that you have all of your energy in the right places. I know that made sense to you when I said it. A lot of times we give our energy to so many other places and then we forget that it needs to be in the right places because we only have a finite amount of energy to give in a day. I mean, I need to learn that myself because I seem to think I have all of the energy, but you have a big shift coming. And I think this has to do with this right here. And that's kind of why this is popping up. I would not be surprised to know you've been working on opening that site back up. I would not be surprised to know that you've been listening to frequencies, meditations, whatever it is. You've been doing all kinds of things to open that site back up. I also would not be surprised to know that, because I know what you do for a living, I would not be surprised to know that when you touch certain clients, before you cut their hair or before you whatever, you see things, you know things about them. I wouldn't be surprised by any of that. So this big shift, this big change is coming as far as this gift goes. You are going to get it back. Just be careful how quick you open that package back up. Does that make sense? Because you don't want to just blow it wide open and then be in rubber grippy sock town. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying what I'm saying. I'm just saying what I'm saying. But this was a very interesting life. It was a very interesting life. So, your clients are just as shocked as you are. So, yeah. Just know that it's coming. Here's what I'm going to recommend before this change happens. If you don't already have one, I have a feeling when I say this, you're gonna know the exact stone. If you don't already have one, thank you, Christy. I would find you a big piece of quartz, just a raw piece of quartz, a big point if you can find one, because you need, I don't know what to call it. You need a focus. You need a channel for this gift. A lot of times having a big single point like that, it's helped when you tell them to go to the doctor. Good, good. You need something to help focus on, to put some of that energy in, to channel that sight to. It's just, you need a tether. You need a tether. That's a better word. You need a tether. So yeah, I would find you a big clear quartz point, like a big one. Okay. A daydream stone, exactly. Barbara, you're throwing cards at me. Yeah. In fact, it probably wouldn't hurt for you to have a smaller one where you work, especially when it comes to those clients and so on. Does that make sense? You're welcome. You're welcome. I love that Barbara's like, sorry. Alrighty. You're welcome so much, Summer. You do have a small one there? Yeah. So here's why, I'll tell you guys why I recommended a quartz point. I'm looking to see if I don't think I have one right here where I can grab it for you guys. But a raw quartz point. Quartz itself is an amplifier. It amplifies any stone around. It amplifies you. It also helps you to see clearly. If you can find a stone that has a record keeper in it, everyone should have a record keeper. Everyone. A record keeper is a stone that has a triangle in it. It has a little triangle in it. I have several. And of course, like as I turn around and look, like I can't find one right now, but I have several. Every single one of you guys needs a record keeper. Every one of you. They are really not that hard to find. And I know people are like, oh God, I can never find. Just look. Chances are you can find a tumble with one in them. I'm just saying. Just saying. A lot of times you can find cracked quartz. Now, cracked quartz usually is man-made cracked. Like they take a piece of quartz, they heat it till it cracks. Y'all, cracked quartz is fucking phenomenal. Do you want to know why cracked quartz is phenomenal? Cracked quartz is phenomenal because it acts as a knowledge stone. I have one about this big, about that big, that I have kept by my Reiki bed for years because it keeps all of that information. It keeps all of that energy. It keeps all of that knowledge. So I know people are like, oh, it's man-made because they cracked it. Stop. Cracked quartz also comes out of the earth like that in some places too, so stop. Cracked quartz is fucking phenomenal. It is phenomenal, and everyone should have one. A lot of times when they crack the quartz like that, it creates a record keeper. Now, is it better to have a record keeper that is natural? Absolutely. But don't poo-poo the cracked quartz that has a record keeper in it. Okay? Say what I say. All right, Miss Barbara, we ready? I'm going to do Miss Barbara's reading, and then I'm going to get off here. I'm going to henna this hand again because, see the difference? So So that way, for Reiki tomorrow, you guys have 2 good in hand. Here we go. Miss Barbara. You also have the Prince, the Forgotten Adversary, which is sorrow and lost valor and serendipity. Yeah, Summer said, I'm going to have to go look through my stones. I bet every one of you goes and looks at your quartz and stuff like that. Then you have blinded to pain. And then you have fragmentation. So, I'm actually going to say that this is probably one, if not right before this life, then maybe a time or 2 before the one you're in currently right now. The reason I say that it's probably the one right before this one is because, and I'm going to show you the healing card first, okay? This is the flower of life, and this signifies a cocoon stage. The life you're in right now is a cocoon stage. It is a pause. It's a pause. Lucky number 13. Lucky number 13. I shit you not. 2 13s. 113. Just saying what I'm saying. You chose a life that you're in right now, A, because you needed a break, and B, because you had other things that your soul needed to do for someone else. It's like you chose to take a pause from your soul's journey to help another soul. And you needed that pause. You have a very feminine soul. You have a very motherly soul. You have that soul that in every single life, like no matter how old you are, you want to take care of other people and nurture them and love them and just make sure they're okay. I also want you to notice that both of these are crescent moons. The crescent is noted for being a light in a new beginning, or being a sickle that is rebirth, death. This life here you tended to be, not tended, you kind of were the whipping boy in this life. And that you took punishment for everybody else. You were the child in the family, and you were the middle child in this family out of 6. So I'm going to say you were probably the 3rd. What's funny is you were born a girl in this life, but you acted more like a boy. You even had your hair cut short. You acted more like a boy. You were treated like a boy. I don't know what was different about you versus the other 5 kids, but something was very different. And so if anything went wrong, it was your fault. If one of the other kids did something, it was your fault. Like, it didn't matter. Everything was your fault. You literally were the whipping boy. And so I'm going to put this as your life before this one, to be honest, because I feel like this was right around the turn of the century, like right around 1900. There's no kids of your own here. There's no marriage here. There's no, actually, let me back up. I don't feel like you were born, because once I said around 1900, I don't feel like you were born in 1900. I feel like that's when this life ended. Because of how hard this life was, because of all of the punishment you took, because of those things, you had a lot of health problems. I Like, I don't feel like you live past like 26 or 27. You already had health problems as a kid in this life, and it's like you got punished for those health problems, which made those health problems worse. And then not getting enough food, not getting enough sleep, not being taken care of. Like, I don't understand what was so different. And I think your soul doesn't understand either. I think that's why you needed this cocoon stage, and you needed to be able to nurture someone else, because of this. So every time you get sick in the meat sack you're currently in, every time you get sick, every time you get hurt, you feel guilty. Like, you actually feel guilty about getting sick. You feel guilty about having to take time for you to heal. Like, you actually feel guilty about it. You feel guilty doing anything for yourself. You feel guilty about not, yeah, you just feel guilty for no reason. So in this life we're talking about here, this past life we're talking about here, it was so kind of fragmented a little bit because you were never allowed to actually be the person. You were never allowed to actually be who you were. You always were constantly having to be someone else, or take the punishment for someone else. I have a feeling you took a long gap in between these two lives. And I wouldn't be surprised if after this life you take another long gap. Because like I said, the life you're currently in is this cocoon phase. It's this cocoon phase. You don't say anything about being sick. I would also bet you really love gardening. I would bet you love flowers. I would bet you love to get sick things and nurse them back to health. Like, you have an affinity for healing things, people, plants, animals, etc. Like, it makes you happy. It makes you happy to make something better. Like I said, you didn't really live long in this life. There was no family. There was no children. There was no nothing. There was just... And you got so used to being blamed for everything that it was normal. That it was normal. So I would bet you have to, in the life you're currently in, you have to fight taking the blame for other things. Like, you want to take on the blame for these things because that's kind of what your soul got programmed to do in that last life. I would bet you also have a problem. Trying to think of the right way to say it. Like, if you accomplish something, you don't tell anybody. You might tell like one person. You don't tell anybody. And if somebody acknowledges you for something that you've accomplished, like, it makes you severely uncomfortable. That's just something you're going to have to work on. That's just something you're going to have to work on. Don't feel like a slacker at all. You are in a cocoon life. You are absolutely in a pause, in a cocoon life. Don't feel like a slacker at all. I mean, your soul chose to be in this life to help this other soul, to nurture this other soul, and it's exactly what you need to be doing. So don't ever feel like your life right now is less than exactly what it was supposed to be and what it should be. Don't ever feel like that. Because, like I said, you made the decision to kind of take a step back and be like, whoo, I need a break. Like, I need a time out. You made that decision so you could just help this other soul. So yeah, don't ever feel like you've been a slacker, because you absolutely haven't been. Woo. Yeah, you absolutely haven't been. In fact, I would say you probably achieved more than you realize you did. Just saying. Just saying. So, this is going to be a very powerful sacred geometry pattern for you. This is the flower of life. I would get you something with this on it. whether it's they make beautiful little medallions or whether it's a board with this in it or whatever. But yeah, I would get you something with this on it. It'll help set you up a beautiful little grid, set you up, I don't know, find you some coasters, put your tea or coffee on it. Yeah, it'll do you good. It'll do you good. I just love you right back, sugar. Well, with that, I'm going to end over here on YouTube, and I appreciate you guys all for watching and hanging out over there.